No one wants to listen to a conversation with a robot around a specific topic.
WhisperTranscribe helped us gain 46,900 views with just 18 episodes. Today, we have the chance to talk with Laurin Wirth, co-founder of WhisperTranscribe.
We'll dive into how AI tools are revolutionizing podcasting.
It's a great tool that helps you save a lot of time, but will still require you to be the captain of the ship.
We'll explore how to use it for efficient growth and showcase that.
We want to make it easy and let podcasters focus on what they're good at. Take that boring part out of podcasting.
And the future of AI in podcasting and WhisperTranscribe.
I'm very bullish on podcasts. Podcasting can become such a powerful tool to build any brand and help any entrepreneur to.
What is WhisperTranscribe?
WhisperTranscribe is a desktop app that makes it super easy for podcasters and marketeers to turn their audio and video into content. And content is written as well as video clips, and we just make it really easy for you to focus on creating your podcast or creating your videos and then helping you with everything else around it.
What are the biggest challenges podcasters face that WhisperTranscribe aims to solve?
I think a lot of podcasters are really, really good at leading interviews and getting the right people involved and like using their like personality to really have an engaging conversation. And then at least some podcasters don't find the time and they lack the resources to create all the materials that you need together with the podcast. A, to make the podcasting something that's engaging to your existing listeners, and B, to find new listeners to draw in from different channels. Just because I think like podcasting is one of the best tools to create a brand and really like have your own personality linked to like your listeners. But at the same time, it's also one of the most difficult to discover channels, I think, because it's just if you haven't been recommended a podcast, it's not like you're gonna randomly stumble upon it on like Spotify, or it's very unlikely, let's put it that way. So we help to bridge that gap, make it easy for podcasters to create all the different pieces of content that they need so they can focus on the things that they are really excelling at.
So what tips would you give podcasters or entrepreneurs who just starting with their podcast, trying to grow it?
I think the most important part is to really add your own persona into your podcast, add your own angle, have character, just because I think in the age of AI, content is becoming a bit of like a commodity almost, right? Like I can ask AI to, hey, create like a blog post around this topic or something like this, which really makes me very, very bullish on podcasts as a medium in general, because I think if you have the podcast, you can actually use this podcast to create new content, not just for your podcast, but also for the rest of your brand. So I think for entrepreneurs, the most important part is like have character, be a bit different, and build that up so it's actually interesting to listen to you, and it's not just content, but it's really about the relationship that you have with your listeners or that you have with the person that you're interviewing.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So I used or tried out this new, what is it called? A Notebook LM from Google, and you can throw in there, for example, a YouTube link. Then it gives you like summaries and etc. But then what it also does is then suddenly it gives you like a podcast from the video. It can even be a podcast, and it create a podcast of the podcast. But yeah, it's suddenly like an AI podcast. What do you think about this? As you're saying, like the personality is so important nowadays. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's very cool technology. And I can imagine that for like a period of time, until people figure out, hey, this is just like, AI generated. Some people will have some big marketing wins with this just because it's so cheap and so fast and so easy to create new content. But I think in the mid to long term, what matters is the relationships that you have with people. And no one wants to listen to like, I don't know, just a conversation with a robot around a specific topic. Even if the content itself is interesting, I think we're just like at a faster way to absorb knowledge than just having the conversation with like an AI. I don't see that as like something that threatens podcasting in any way. Is that any different for you? Is it changing like the way you consume knowledge?
Well, so if someone would ask me, hey, would you be interviewed by an AI robot? I probably would say no, because it would feel like awkward. Because as you say, I think the personal touch is missing. It's like we humans are always looking for connections. So I think you're right there. Obviously for AI, it's like the good thing is like the fast pace, the speed. So yeah, sometimes I just take a video and throw it in one of these tools, but it's to give me like the knowledge quicker, or even like, hey, I was just watching this great video, for example, from Alex Hormozi. Can you just break down his framework? This is something I love about AI. Like it can help you to get the good bits out very quickly. But as you said, the AI podcasts are like not really for me. What do you think about it?
I agree with you 100%. I think connections like are really, really important. And of course, AI doesn't have this really, and you can't even feel like emotions through AI. So yeah, definitely I prefer podcasts with real people. I don't think AI is gonna take over.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I think it's actually already in some ways the way people structure their content, like strategy, right? They have like some long form piece of content at the top of the funnel, maybe like a blog post, a podcast or something they spend a lot of time and like their own personality and energy on creating. And then as they kind of continue down that funnel, such as like tweets, social media posts, short-form video content, I think there is more room to like repurpose the existing good content into like different pieces of smaller content than the other way around. So I think it's actually making also podcasts even more powerful than ever in this age of AI, because it gives you such an amazing tool to create content that you can then also use in different places, instead of kind of having to go the other way around when you think like, hey, how do I build a Twitter audience, or how do I build a LinkedIn audience? If you have these interesting conversations with people, then all the other content will follow much, much easier than if you were to do it the other way around and think about, okay, today I need to write my 3 Twitter posts, my 5 LinkedIn posts. I don't really have anything to write about. That is really like in like 2024 an awesome opportunity to start your podcast, even if you don't have like a lot of listeners yet, just as a place to get content that you can then also leverage in different places to build your brand.
Something I think it's very important. For example, WhisperTranscribe helps you creating content for many types of platforms, right? It makes your life easier. You save lots of time. But I think people, they shouldn't forget that, okay, I have the content created by AI, but I still need to add a bit of my touch, you know? Otherwise, after a while, it feels awkward. Feels weird. So I think WhisperTranscribe is amazing for that, but I think people still need to add a bit of touch, you know? That's what we do. We use AI a lot. It's a huge help, but we're still reading the content and analyzing, okay, how can I add a bit of my personality into that?
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, I think if you take our app as an example, when you come in and you use the like default prompts that are like there, maybe you get 80% of the way compared to if you were to write something from scratch. Then I think you can add like another 10% by kind of like telling the AI exactly what your usual tone of voice is like, and kind of what the writing style should be and what it should focus on. But then there is still that last 10% that I think AI is not going to replace anytime soon. It's just like all these like small and like more subtle ways of expressing who you are. Maybe add a joke, make it in a way that it really fits your own personality, because I think all your readers and the people that listen to you will really notice that last 10%. But that said, it means like you can create a lot more content from existing pieces by leveraging technology, and you can really focus on the thing that matters the most, that last 10%.
Can you share any successful stories from clients who have used WhisperTranscribe?
Of course, like a lot of our customers also are a bit more privacy focused, I would say, because that's also one of the things that we try to do with our app to make it as private as possible. But, for instance, we have like automated this whole process for one of the largest, US radio stations, where we help them, create all the titles for their like short form pieces of content. So they have like 20, 30 minute like radio shows or like segments where they have an interview or speak to someone. We help them kind of create all the different pieces of content that they need directly for that. So from titles, kind of the show notes, a summary, all these different pieces of content we help them create. And then the second part of it is actually like the content that helps them promote these segments. So that would be social media posts, since recently also videos that we let them create. So we've helped you find short form videos based on what the AI thinks might be like the most engaging segments and let you add your own branding. That is one, I would say, one of our biggest success stories, just because they have millions and millions of listeners across their network. We help them with all the different pieces of content. And again, of course, this only works if they adjust our AI to their use case. So, they have spent quite some time to really set it up in a way where it fits exactly their requirements. How long does the title need to be? What format does the title need to be? What kind of language should you use? So for instance, like they can only use American Press style guidelines in every like piece of content that they write.
So let's talk now about the features of WhisperTranscribe. So as you know, we are the 80-20 podcast experts. So we are firm believers of they only like 20% bring in like the 80% of results. And we like to work very efficiently. So this is like the part of our whole 80-20 concept. And yeah, as AI is, as we discussed before, AI is a huge time saver. So what would you say would be the top 3 features you would say right now that would give like, the biggest buck for your time, to help you grow the fastest? What you could say, like, okay, this is gonna help you right away. We have an interview prepared from our last week, so we can start now showing here on the app how it's actually working.
This is the welcome screen. So we also want to make this as efficient as possible. So you can either upload a file directly here. You can search at our podcast library of 5 million podcasts if you've already released it, or you can just link any like public URL where there's an audio on the page. So like a YouTube link or any other platform where you have. Yeah, perfect.
So we did it here from YouTube. So it already transcribed everything. Let me go on the transcript. So this is the page. So it transcribed everything already. I can see here, I put already the first name. I know here the second name. I'm going to put the name of our guest, which is going to be Nate. So I'm going to save this.
Perfect. Okay. Then one thing you might want to do whilst we're here at this screen is to actually translate it maybe to Portuguese. I know you have also quite some Portuguese listeners or Brazilian listeners, so it might make sense to actually hit the translate button here and add that as a thing that you maybe add as subtitles. You can also search, by the way, if you just, here you go.
Here we go.
Yeah, and it's going to take like a minute or something, but then you have the whole transcript for Portuguese as well. That might be like just a quick win to add this to your maybe LinkedIn post or wherever you need it to have like just engage that audience as well. Then the second part, maybe in the meantime, we can check out the Content Hub while this loads. Usually, as said, like takes a minute or something. So to get started, I think I want to split this up in 2 pieces. So the first part is like assets that you kind of need to add to your podcast anyway. That would be like titles, show notes, chapters. And then the second part is like assets that help you grow your podcast. So the first part, you can actually maybe like start with titles, for instance. You can either use like the prompt we have here currently. Another one that I often do is like I just ask it to create, for instance, 5 titles and then give it an example. I think as it's such a short piece of content, I'll also walk you through how you can kind of customize it based on your own needs. So what I would do now is like I'd click the add button in the top right corner. And then here, this really works similar to ChatGPT. So you can just ask it, in this case, maybe like create 5 titles. Here's an example of a title that you've used in the past that you've seen, like, hey, this worked really well. We got a lot of like clicks on that one. So that the format is somewhat similar. And then maybe you still want to give it some like additional like kind of restrictions around like what platform you want to optimize it for. If it's like Spotify, if it's like Apple Podcasts, just so you have a better idea of like how many words should be used in the title. Of course, you can also directly say, hey, please use no more than 67 characters or something like this. So let's see. I forced you onto a long prompt, David. So it's like you're busy typing now. Yes. All right, let's see what that produces. So now you have some titles here, and you can actually go over these and see like, hey, which of these titles would be something that you find useful? And then if you see, hey, this is maybe something like where, I don't know, it's too long, or like you don't like certain specific use of language, then I would just go up to the initial prompt again and just adjust that a little bit based on what your needs are. As soon as you find something that you say like, hey, this is me, this is my like brand voice, these are like my requirements, you can hit that small bookmark next to the prompt that you've created. So further to the right, actually, all the way at the right of this card. Yeah, there you go, exactly. And then we could call this maybe like 5 title suggestions, David and Luana's podcast or something like this. And then you can automatically always apply this to all new transcripts. I would still hit that button above, exactly. So then it will always automatically be applied to all new transcripts. Save it. So now you see it on the top, and we've now actually really kind of fine-tuned the title section for your needs. And I think like this is really the key to being successful with any piece of content, just because we have so many different customers that all have different requirements. So if you want to get the most out of it, I very strongly recommend like customizing it a little bit. All right. So that's like maybe like the first piece of that can save you time and also like help you get more engagement if you like optimize the titles. Then a second piece could be like the chapters. I know you are doing YouTube videos these days. Like everyone is doing the chapter markers. I think YouTube themselves also allow you to have something around this. But I would like to say that like our AI is a bit better than YouTube, just because YouTube is so big. They have so many videos that they use like AI models that tend to be like not kind of top of the shelf models. But having accurate like overview of like, hey, these are the different things that you discussed in your interview or your YouTube video, can be really helpful for users to navigate to the pieces they want to, especially if you have a podcast. Because at least me, oftentimes, like, I want to know, like, what is this podcast about? Then I can have a look at the chapters. And B, sometimes I need like very specific information. And then like, I don't want to scroll through the whole podcast and not find that section that I'm most interested in. So this is really, really crucial to have to help you kind of grow your YouTube channel or podcast as well. So just one additional thing here, you can also switch between how you want these chapters to come out. I think for YouTube, for instance, it would only be the titles. So you have like here an overview of the titles itself. So that's really on helping you save time creating the assets that you need anyway for your podcast or your YouTube video. Like sometimes what can also still make sense is to have some show notes or something like this that you add. But let's maybe jump into like the second part on assets you can use to really help you grow your brand, help you grow your podcast. So that is like on the written side, you have one, you have like quotes. So you can actually look at the quotes, ask it to give you quotes that fit specific criteria. Again, a little bit like ChatGPT, you can just say, hey, give me, I don't know, funny quotes, or give me inspirational quotes, or maybe even give me some controversial quotes. That tends to be something that often works on social media as well. And then you can either use these to, create social media content, for instance, like an image with your brand, with like a link to your podcast, as well as like an interesting quote. That could be like one piece of asset that you can very easily create from this.
What I'd really like to add is the quote feature. So I tried many AI tools. I don't know, like Sonics, Auphonic, Cast Magic. I tried so many different AI tools. That's how I actually talked to you about it. That something I really love about WhisperTranscribe is the quote feature. Because for our job, our first client, we help them to create hooks. So for the hooks, you usually lose like the best bits, the quotes. So yeah, I use all of these hooks. I always give it like, yeah, give me this quote, give me this one. At the end, I'll also put like my own ones, as you can hear, describe the quote you want to get. So I put also like, what do you think is the most controversial hook? And yeah, I have to say, this is something I really, really love about WhisperTranscribe, and that's why we love this platform so much, just because of all the quotes. So what I do afterwards is like, I take all the quotes out, put them in the list, and then I listen to them. How can it fit now in my intro so that I can get my audience engaged? Just a side note from us, that why we loved WhisperTranscribe so much.
Oh my goodness, you save so much time with this option. Because before, when we didn't know WhisperTranscribe, we had to watch the full video and get the sentences out of it, the ones we thought were strong. And then with that, it just saves so much time and gives you really good quality content.
And it's also from a neutral aspect as well.
Of course, you can also create a lot of like different assets, such as like Instagram posts, Twitter posts. So we can actually go to this. Here we have for Instagram a post where you can then maybe at the end actually link your own podcast or like the episode that you've had. Again, I would very much recommend like either creating like this, a prompt that really fits your own needs, adding an example and like kind of doing the same thing that we just did for the titles. Mm-hmm. Or if you like actually kind of like the Instagram post that we provide out of the box, but you see like, hey, actually like something that you would like to change, then you can also use this AI reread functionality. For this, say like you don't want to use emojis. So you could like use this AI reread functionality and say, rewrite this, but don't use emojis. So we can try this, for instance. Alternatively, other like good use cases could be like, hey, you want to make it longer, or you see like, hey, I made it quite long as is, but you would like to have it shorter. So then you can really play around to get to the result that you want. Yeah, so here you go. It's a very similar post, but now without emojis. So that is really like a kind of like playing around with it to fit your needs. Same thing, of course, also what you could do is you could, instead of asking it to create just one Instagram post, you could ask it to create, you can either recreate it or you can ask the AI to start out with, to say like, hey, create one Instagram post for all main topics or something like this, and like create a total of 5 or 6 Instagram posts. And you have like different posts that you can then maybe use at different points in time, and then like just have more content that you can publish over time as well.
Now let's talk about your newest feature. It's the Visual Hub now, right?
Correct. Yes. So when you come into the Visual Hub, you have 2 options. Either if you have like a video, this will show up here as well. Then it will automatically download. This usually does take a moment just because the video files are often a bit bigger. Let's see how quick that goes. If you don't have a video, we also have the audiogram feature, which kind of allows you to have like a bit of your own brand and like a bit of like an animation around like the speaker and your title that you have. Both, I think, are quite powerful tools that help you get more presence on actually all social medias. just because, I mean, everyone these days wants to have a bit of like visual content, and we try to make this as easy as possible for you. Yeah, as said, like the download of the video itself takes a bit. So maybe we can actually just go into the audiogram feature first while this downloads in the background. And yeah, so as soon as you're there, you get two options. You can either start from scratch, or you can create AI clips. The AI clips, we again have like a bit of an algorithm to kind of try to find the most exciting parts. Where are the hooks in the video? How can we kind of get towards like interesting pieces and give those as recommendations for your clips? I see them more as like starting points, because I think even if you have the clip and like the recommendation of where you should look at, I think it's always good to like look back at it, think a little bit about it, how the flow of like that actual segment is. Because of course, what we have is the written transcripts, and that's what we use to create like the AI clips. What we don't have is like how excited someone speaks in a specific moment. So all these kind of other things that I think can really impact the performance of any of your video and audiograms. And yeah, so now this has actually loaded, and maybe you can hide the download for now. Yeah, thanks. So here you get 8 audiograms or 8 clips. So you can go there. You see now here. So this is actually the content that was selected for the first audiogram here for you. It gives you like the text that's marked here in that dark purple. So all of that is included. You can click play, and it will play back like that specific clip. So then you can also see if that makes sense for you, if it doesn't. And then by just clicking on text on the right panel here, you can add or subtract from like the clip itself. So if you just say, yeah, you could, for instance, remove this section, or just like drag and drop to kind of extend or reduce the clip that you have here. Exactly. So we've really tried to make it as easy as possible for you to get to where you want to go. And of course, part of that is also giving you a very good starting point with that AI clip recommendation. Second part you can do is you can add style. So at the moment, of course, this is like our default style, but you can like choose between different templates that we have. By the way, you can also choose what kind of format you want to have. So if this is more kind of focused around, say, TikTok or Instagram stories, we have just different pieces of like different formats that you can use, and where you can also then customize the template that you have. Yes. So you can actually just start going through the different options, start maybe like adding your own header. At the moment, exactly like perfect. I mean, like this is not an MP4. It's just like in this case, the name of the file. And that's why there's like an MP4 there as well, but doesn't make sense. You can add a subheader. In this case, it's like your name. Exactly. You can make it bigger. You can change the color of it. You can, of course, also change the icon. At the moment, this is our WhisperTranscribe icon, but doesn't make sense. Like usually we actually, like if we download the YouTube video as well, we will take your icon from the channel where you've like automatically.
Before here. I saw it before here. Our picture. It's gone now. Don't know why.
So you can. You can just like upload it yourself, and then you will have it as like as the icon always for this template. Of course, same thing for kind of like the image that's next to the text and the subtitles. And you can just go through these like different settings here, adjust them to your own needs. It's automatically saved to a template. And then if you want to like recreate other clips, you can always just use that same template to kind of have the same settings. I think that's especially relevant maybe if you have more than one channel, or if you have like multiple customers, if you're like an agency that like has different podcasts, that you always automatically have the same kind of template. Exactly. You already, I like it. You're someone that, a man of action. You're already customizing all of it.
Just childish behaviors, just playing around.
I like it. It's good. It's the entrepreneurial way, right? Got to try out things, break it. Yeah. So that's, I think our most recent feature. And I think like one of the features in that kind of growth buckets that we talked about before. So like the title, show notes, etc. is more like the necessity bucket. And then all the social media posts is more like the growth bucket. And I think this is really a key element of that growth bucket to have video content. And I know a lot of video software is really difficult to use or like very expensive, and all these different kind of things. So really, that's also like our vision. We want to make it easy and let podcasters focus on what they're good at, namely having interviews, recording it, and then like all the secondary things of marketing in it and making sure it's like in the app in the right way. We want to help with and want to leverage AI to kind of take that boring part out of podcasting. If you click start from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's better.
Yeah.
Okay. Here now it gives me clip 1.
So at the moment you don't have any text selected, but you can select text here and then it will also show up as the video.
There you go.
Yes.
You can do manually yourself. Right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, there you go. Yeah. So again, you have a similar like interface here where you have like different options. You can choose how the clip is displayed. You can add your subtitles. You can again choose the formats. Have some settings around like your own subtitles, such as changing colors, and yeah, I think it's again quite similar to the audiograms, except for that this time you have a video in there as well.
Awesome. And at the end, export clip.
Exactly. Then you still have to export it. That's one thing that's on our roadmap that we will let you automatically integrate it with your own social media platforms, so that you, at the moment, it's just downloading it and then you have to upload it where you need it. But that's something that's actually on our roadmap, that we will have all these integrations directly in the app just to help you be faster and be more efficient.
So how can WhisperTranscribe help with analysis and helping improving our insights?
Yes. So the analysis mode that we have in the custom content hub is actually, that will mean it will take your whole transcript as context and then use that to create new content. This is awesome if you really need like specific insights or want like a very specific focus of the new content that you create. It's still good, but like a little bit less good than like if you don't tick that, if you want to have more general content. The reason for it is that we do like pass a very smart summary into our tool. If you don't click the analysis mode, that smart summary might sometimes miss like some parts of your podcast or of your video. So there is always a bit of like a pro and con. I would say, generally speaking, use the analysis mode if you want to get very specific content back, or if you want it to be focused on like a specific area, and use the normal mode if you just want to create, like, say, social media posts that focus on your podcast in general, but like not on one specific topic.
So are there any misconceptions about the use of AI in podcasting production that you would like to debunk, you would like to talk about?
I think the misconceptions for podcasting in AI are similar to some of the misconceptions for AI in general. I mean, I think like AI, as mentioned already, like will never replace people. I think it makes people more efficient in creating content and promoting themselves. But I think that's one big misconception, that people think, hey, in a couple of years from now, there's not going to be any podcasts anymore. Everyone is doing like the text to speech, Google, the notebook LM. So I think that's a misconception. I think it's more important than ever to create content that has character and really kind of builds on the relationship that we have with people. And then I think the second maybe misconception is to think there's like this AI is evil or like this AI is like good or anything. I think the AI is a tool for you to be able to focus on the things that you enjoy doing. AI or like what we have built is not useful if you're someone that really enjoys going back to their podcast episode and is like, hey, like let's write 10 tweets from this episode. And if you're the person that really enjoys this, like you should not use AI to do it, because I think like there is something that you can probably like add a new perspective that AI will never be able to. If you are more on the end where you're like, hey, I love doing the podcast, I love interviewing people, but I'm not so much of a fan of like staying up to all like the different best practices around social media and creating the content and like all these different things that I know or I'm sure you guys have struggled with as well in the past, then I think AI is a tool. It's a great tool that helps you save a lot of time, but will still require you to be the captain of the ship that says, okay, this, yes, this, no, more of this, less of this. And then add maybe like that last 10% of your own secret sauce towards it to really make it stand out. Because I mean, of course, everyone can use AI tools, but like similar to other tools, there's just like people that are better and people that are worse at using it. And doing this, I think, really helps you stand out.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I totally agree. I see AI more as a tool as well, but I see too many people just like, hey, AI, do this stuff for me. And you can really see this. And then something you said as well is like, hey, you should be the captain. And I feel the same way about AI. It's like, for me, it's like, okay, I'm like, you need to have like the knowledge of the things you do with AI, or like what you give to AI. For example, repurposing content. So yeah, as I said, I need the speed. I love the speed about AI. So I put my stuff in AI and tell it, okay, which idea could we go in there? And sometimes if you don't know your stuff, and sometimes you see AI suddenly starts interpreting things which aren't there, they're going to start putting informations out from the web or just from its knowledge base. And then you can suddenly see like, oh, this doesn't match with my stuff. But if I'm not like checking it and just posting it, like, yeah, people will see it. Like, for me, you need to be like kind of thinking, okay, I'm the general manager. I have the knowledge of a little bit of this, a little bit of this. You don't need to be a master. Like, I'm not a master writer, but sometimes I can see like, this sentence sounds maybe very cheesy, or this sounds very flat. So sometimes I'm just like, you need to go back and forth with AI and yeah, have a little bit, as you said, also the putting the secret sauce in there as well. That's what I always do. It's like, it's a great start. And then let's finish the last 10% to make it really like, good, punchy, and it speaks David's voice.
100% agreed. I mean, like, I think we've gone through exactly this example before when we customized the titles, right? So first step was like, hey, what do your titles look like usually? Let's put that in as like more context. Then the AI created like 5 titles. Like, we could even ask it to create more, right? And then the second step would be like, you with your all your experience come in and say like, you know what, like 4 out of those like 10 titles are garbage, 3 are like maybe somewhat usable, and then like these 2 are actually something that is really, really useful, right? So that is also like, again, you're the captain that stirs the ship, right? Where you say like, great, I have like, gotten kind of the 10 examples of like good titles, and then you come in with your experience and say like, hey, you know what, this is an absolute banger of a title, this is also a really good title, let's use these. And then that will really help you like save so much time, right? Just because you don't have to come up with 10 titles yourself anymore, and like maybe actually some of them you would have not been able to come up with, but having your expertise with like knowing what is good and fits you, that really makes that difference between, I would say, like a successful AI user and like someone that's less successful.
Where do you think where the whole AI and podcast industry is going to in the next year and in the next couple of years? What is your personal opinion where it could go?
I'm quite set. I'm very bullish on podcasts. I think like with all the AI tools that we have that have hit the markets, I think podcasting can become such a powerful tool to build any brand and help any entrepreneur to get towards the next level, not just because the podcast itself helps you build a relationship with your listeners and convert some of those listeners towards customers, but also because like that podcast is kind of the foundation for all the other content that you can create as part of your content strategy. I mean, like out of the long form podcast, I can create a blog post. I can create 15, 20 short form video clips that I can post on TikTok, Instagram. I can create like a whole bunch of different tweets, a LinkedIn post, all these different things that beforehand I would definitely have to spend more time than like the hour or 2 hours that I had did the podcast, did the post-production, all these kind of things. Yeah, if you wouldn't have the podcast. So I think like there will be more podcasts. And I think people will also just use that as a content creation strategy to have like that podcast as the foundation for the rest of their content strategy. So I think more podcasts, and a lot of it will be more AI enabled, just because that really lets you get out the gems out of like the content that you've created and lets you repurpose it. Because I think we all are not the biggest fan of writing SEO optimized, search engine optimized blog posts around our business. It's so much easier to have a conversation like this, right? Where we talk about, for instance, trends in AI for podcasters, and then like use that maybe to create a different piece of content for my LinkedIn post, for instance, or your LinkedIn post. And that just makes life so much more enjoyable, to be honest, because so much nicer to have a conversation with both of you than to sit behind my desktop, to listen to techno music and write.
So what's next for WhisperTranscribe?
For us, the next step is that we will just build on what we already have. We want to be the one place where all content creators come to repurpose all of their content. So written content as well as video content. We will improve the content that we already have, improve like the video and audiogram functionality just to make it easier to use. And then the next big step is to have that integrated into all of your different tools that you already use. So instead of having suggestions for your LinkedIn post in our app that you don't have to copy paste over to LinkedIn, we want to also make it easy for you to schedule this and be that one place where you can really manage all your different social media accounts and the content that is generated.
So let's round the whole interview up. We have next our 5 quick rapid questions, which are a little bit more about now Laurin the person and not WhisperTranscribe anymore. What is your favorite podcast?
I really enjoy the Huberman Lab. I would say that's my current gym podcast, and that also automatically means that's my current favorite podcast. But I tend to rotate. Like I've really enjoyed Rob Welling's Startups for the Rest of Us. That's another like a podcast I really enjoyed. One more on the health side, one more on the business side.
Perfect. Health and wealth.
Exactly.
And what is your favorite book?
Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, I think. That just really changed my view of the world and how I perceive people. And like, we always think we're these rational beings when I think we really are not. And that was quite like a shift in the way I perceive the world, both for myself as well as how I perceive other people.
Yeah, I think that's why we have AI now to to get back to the rational side. So what would be the greatest advice you ever gotten or you just want to share?
So I'm Austrian, right? And I think in Austria, Germany, and a lot of Europe, we have like a bit more of a conservative risk-taking culture. And the biggest advice that I've gotten and I give to other people is just do it. I mean, there's a best slogan in the history of any brand. Just do it, Nike. And I think it's very much applies towards like startups as well. I think taking action. No, it's not. But I mean, like taking action is like the only way that really gets you forward. No one knows how things will unfold, and the only way we can learn is by taking action and not overthink it. And I think in Austria, Germany, a lot of these places we are taught to like first really think things through, which then delays action. And that I think is inherently bad for anyone that wants to create.
In the beginning, it's a bit hard. You overthink, but just do it. It happened with me. but now I'm just doing. I don't care anymore.
Good. I mean, like, it is hard, right? So it is hard to get towards.
Yeah, I think it's the most difficult part, starting. But when you start, you just let it go, move on.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like, I think the paradox of starting is that starting is the most difficult when you really start. Like, you know, that the first 100 reps of anything are the most difficult because you don't have any validation. You have no clue if like what you're doing makes any sense. And then it does become easier over time. But I would say the only way to get towards that is like get those first 100 reps in and then adjust as you go.
And Laurin, what is your big hero, if you have one?
I would say, I mean, I think Peter Levels and Danny Postma are two guys that really successfully kind of built their own SaaS companies as bootstrapped entrepreneurs. And I think very cool to see how they also put that like action mindset into practice and just continuously ship whilst building really awesome brands and products.
So what is Laurin Wirth looking for his personal future? What are you looking for next?
So I think it's always a mixture of like the personal things and like the professional things. And I think the more you do things, the more you realize they're actually quite connected. I think like being healthy, for instance, getting enough sleep really is kind of the baseline for all other success. So on the personal side, I'm really looking for that, making sure that I continue to be fit. Gym. I'm a big fan of running, get my exercise in just because that really helps me be in a mindset and in like a physical state to work hard in my professional side as well. And then in terms of like the professional goals, we would really like to continue to grow WhisperTranscribe and build out all these features that we discussed and continue to have awesome conversations like the one that we have at the moment, get to know people and just have fun while it happens, right? I think that's important to me.
And where can people find out more about WhisperTranscribe and you, Laurin?
So the easiest way to find more about WhisperTranscribe is just whispertranscribe.com. We have quite a lot of pieces of content there and you can just try it out for free. So we have just a generous free plan, no strings attached. You don't even need a credit card to sign up. So just test it out, see if it works for you, make some adjustments, be that captain of the ship to steer the AI in the way that you need it. And you can always reach out with feedback or just your thoughts, or just if you want to have a chat to me, either at laurin.wirth@whispertranscribe.com or on my LinkedIn, just Laurin Wirth. That's the easiest ways how you can reach me. And I would, of course, love to hear from you, even if it's just for a coffee and a chat.
You can use WhisperTranscribe to repurpose it and create shorts out of it. But are shorts really effective for your podcast? And if so, how do it properly?
Those are exactly the questions we asked an ex-vidIQ coach with 200,000 subscribers. Click here because he will answer all those questions and how he would build his podcast strategy from scratch. See you there.